The dog ate my homework and my dinner and my shoe.
All of the customer service agents are experiencing high call volumes. All of them.
You know that feeling when your rent's due, but you don't have your rent money?
Found out my favorite soap has a chemical in it used to clean gas station floors.
Have such a good day.
Hey, wonderful people of the world. Welcome to Have Such a Good Day.
Even you mediocre people,
Yes.
we're glad to have you as well. Because
The whole spectrum of people.
One of us. Yes. Hello, internet.
All kinds of people out there. Hello.
It's
Welcome
true.
to the show.
This is a show called Have Such a Good Day. If you're finding us for the first time, we want you to have a better day than you might be having. And the reason we know you're not having a great day is because it's very easy to slip into the minutia of daily life.
Oh, totally. Yeah, you might have stubbed your toe and you thought, oh man, this is
I
bad
cried
omen.
earlier today.
You did.
Not over anything really bad either.
Well,
we have our moments.
Oh, absolutely.
We need each other.
We do need each other.
Yeah.
Life, daily life can be trying,
True.
We just want to have a little bit of fun and we want to do that with you. And, we're so happy you're joining us today.
Correct. So Have Such a Good Day, if you're finding us for the first time, is a show about cool internet stuff, funny memes, disturbing stories, music, culture,
Internet,
movies,
online
the
culture.
whole gamut.
Yep.
Heather and I really have no holds barred attitudes towards this whole thing.
No, we gravitate to certain subjects. And, she mentioned most of those subjects. But, we might veer off into something that is a little weird from time to time. And maybe you will actually learn something. Because, we're informed. We're not journalists per se.
Well, speak for yourself.
Well, yeah, I'm not a journalist, but that's obvious. And by the way, we're doing a bonus topic later in the show that is only available for $5 patrons. We're going to tell you what this topic is to hopefully intrigue you into listening and becoming a $5 patron.
Yeah, and if for any reason you're like, what's a patron? What's happening? What's Heather talking about? We have a Patreon campaign that is currently running, patreon.com/havesuchagoodday, where you can find out a lot more about how the different tiers of a Patreon donation, monthly donation, helps get you extra perks. So one of those perks for, as Heather mentioned, the $5 patrons is a bonus topic at the end of the show. So if for any reason you like us enough that you're not glad that the show ends when it does, $5 a month is the right tier for you because we're going to talk about more stuff.
Yeah. In fact, today we're going to talk about, was life better when technology was simpler?
And I have some thoughts about that.
Oh, me too. So if you want to join the conversation, then become a $5 patron.
Yes, please. Also, if $5 sounds like a lot per month, don't even worry. We get it. We have lots of different tiers depending on your patron level of comfort.
But can you believe that a cappuccino is pretty much, I think it's like $4.50 now?
Dog.
Plus a tip.
At Minotti's, okay, that's my local coffee shop in my neighborhood. A drip coffee is $4.
It's insane.
It's a drip coffee. I don't even like cappuccinos. I don't like. I want. Give me black coffee and let me put my own half and half in it, and that's all I want. I don't like any of that stuff.
Yeah,
$4.
I know, it's crazy. It's just out of hand.
Heather, why is everything so cruel?
I know it is, and I don't know. I don't know how to solve these problems for you, Sarah. Just make your coffee at home.
Which is funny because I have a coffee maker. I have this dog now, and so the whole going to the coffee shop is like on my way to the dog park, and it all works out really well. If the coffee was $2,
I totally agree.
I'd be like, all right, well, that's just part of my deal.
I actually wonder, that could be a good experiment. Could you try to find a cafe in your neighborhood that has a $2 cup of coffee?
Oh, I'm sure there is one, but they just have really good coffee.
I know. I did the same thing this morning. I got a $4.50 cappuccino at Blue Bottle. And one of the reasons why I do it is I want to get out of the house. You know, we work from home. We're freelancers. So it's
we're
nice
dying
to kind
in there.
of matriculate with other human beings from time to time. So sometimes I'll be like, you know, I got to get out this morning. Yeah. So to me, I'm like, well, $4.50, you know, I'll just, you know, I don't know, soak it all in.
Right. Yeah.
It's a small price.
Enjoy that coffee. 'Cause that's your breakfast.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of coffee shops, I wanted to, you know, Heather and I try to start the show off being like, okay, well, we haven't seen y'all or heard y'all since a week ago. What's been going on? And, you know, talk about, you know, one thing during the last week that sort of stood out to us. I'm not sure I have like a specific thing that has stood out to me, but I would like to talk about something that bothers me week after week, and that is noise. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not talking about like, oh, somebody's car alarm went off. I mean, that's annoying, but, you know, it's very brief. It's repetitive noise, and it's repetitive noise that people do not realize is making me want to murder them.
It's like maybe you have a heightened sense of hearing.
I do.
Which I probably do too. I think women do.
I have eagle ears, always have.
Yeah.
I know you have an eagle nose.
I have they call it a bloodhound nose.
Yeah.
Not an eagle, different animal, but
well, you know, I'm doing eagle
close
eyes
enough,
and, you know, just going from there. Mine is noise.
Yeah.
But it's repetitive noise. So
give me an example.
For an example, okay. So you're at Blue Bottle this morning. You got your coffee. Maybe you're sitting there for a minute. Maybe you're on your laptop or your phone. Maybe you're just chilling, whatever, just surveying the scene. If someone is next to me, maybe playing with their ballpoint pen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a loud noise, but it's a repetitive
or
noise.
like kicking their foot, like, and it's hitting like the wall or something.
Any repetition. I don't care if I can barely hear it or if you're hitting me in the face with it. It bothers me the same way, to the point where I'm glaring at people like, why?
Yeah.
Why would you do this
and like
to me?
They're so unself-aware.
Right.
And also I think, you know.
And I've told people on planes, you know, because planes are like, that's like the
close
ultimate,
quarters,
like,
man.
you know, I'm just trying to survive without jumping out, you know, the like safety window here. I've told people like, you need to stop playing with your pen. I'm sorry. I can't deal with it. And people kind of look at you like
you're crazy.
Oh, wow. You have like an OCD thing where I'm like, I don't care what you think about me. Stop playing with your pen.
I hope that I act accordingly around you, Sarah, because, but you know, you can tell me if I'm like kicking my foot or whatever, but you know,
I would actually.
I think you would. And I would be okay with that.
That's real friendship.
Yeah, it really
Heather,
is.
Repetitive
it's true
noise.
love. It is.
No more.
Actually, that reminds me. So one thing that does irk me in the same vein is when people have a very particular way of eating, and it's kind of has a repetitive thing where they, like this morning, this guy was cutting his toast, and it was the way he was doing it was just grating.
Wait, what,
you know,
like what? Did he have a knife? Like,
yeah, he had a knife,
like,
we're sitting on the same kind of like bar table, so I felt the vibration of it, and it was just like, you know, very precise. And then, you know, the way he ate with his mouth open, you know, so I felt like I was.
You felt like
part of
his eating was part of
my world,
your personal space.
Yeah, and I was actually working on a document, and I was trying to have my own little bubble. You know, sometimes it's hard to find your own little bubble out there, Sarah. You know, where it's yours. And
this is why I wear headphones all the time.
Oh, all the time. Literally, I woke up and put them on in bed because I can't. There's so many noises.
Well, so, okay, for anybody who doesn't understand the context of that, why? What's wrong with your bedroom?
I woke up to, you know, when trucks back up. I mean, talk about a repetitive noise. Oh, it drives me absolutely crazy. The truck backing up
is one of the beep, 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 like, beep, beep. We're backing up.
Yeah.
Like, be careful. Like, when is a truck ever like run someone over?
That's the thing. I'm like, okay, I get it for certain situations. You're on a busy street, you're on a busy pedestrian street, you're on a specific kind of road where you might need to like have that alert on. But in this case, it went on for hours, and it's like, you're on this kind of small street. Why do you need to do that? Anyway, so I have a pair of noise canceling headphones in my bed. I'm not even kidding you. Like they're under my pillow. I have them there all the time.
Now, are they over the ear or in ear?
Oh, they're over the
ear. They're big, like these.
Totally. They're like
and this is something you could sleep with? Because I couldn't.
I can't.
I sleep with earplugs.
I won't sleep with them all night. I rarely.
I couldn't sleep with these.
I don't put them on before I go to bed. Like they're there for like in the morning when I wake up and there's some noise because there's always noise. There's okay, let me talk about this for a second. Monday and Tuesday, street cleaning. Wednesday is leaf blowing, your favorite, and lawn mowing and stuff like that. Thursday and Friday is garbage and recycling. I'm not kidding, both days. So we're screwed. Like every day of the week is accounted for, and we wake up to it every single morning, whatever it is. And plus we have all the construction going on. So yeah, anyway, so I throw them on and then I go downstairs. I have another pair downstairs because I'm like, I just keep these in my bed.
Right.
Because I don't want to wake up without
Serenity
them.
now.
Oh, yeah. It's completely a security thing, too, where I'm like, I have to have them. I check every time before I go to sleep. I'm like, I mean, it's living in the modern world, man, or living in a city. I don't know.
I have a funny story. A friend of mine who I grew up with her back in Sebastopol. She lives in Humboldt now. Like, she's a real wilderness girl. Shout out to you, Erin Feller. But she came down to Venice a couple weeks ago and stayed with me. She slept on the couch that's right behind us, and very comfortable couch, best couch ever. But it was a Sunday night, and I forgot to tell her, oh, by the way, around 6:30 a.m. on Monday morning, the garbage people, like, it's garbage day.
Yeah.
And I live on, a series of alleys. I live in, I live at the beach, so everything's weird down here. But the garbage people are out in force between 6:30 and 9 on Monday. The world is ending.
Oh, pretty much.
And that's just I'm just used to it. But I forgot to tell her that. And I'm in my bedroom sort of like, just used to it. I got my earplugs in, whatever. And when I came out, she was like, morning. What was that? And I'm like, what? What happened?
They're like monsters.
And she described it as, it was like the nothing from Neverending Story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there was a wolf outside? Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, no, that like, I don't know, it was like an earthquake or, something bad happened. And I'm kind of looking at her for a minute like, what are you talking? Oh, garbage day. I'm so sorry. I should have told you. Because it's so jarring.
It's so jarring. I want to say one last thing about this noise thing. I want to say that why garbage people of the world, or people who manufacture and make garbage trucks, why do they have to be so loud? Like, they're the loudest trucks. I mean, the way there's
a job. There's
but why does the truck have to be? Because the trucks, the way their engines and like everything, I know it's
machinery.
Man, it's loud. I mean, if technology is going to do something good for us, make these, machines quieter. Yeah, right? Man, it's crazy.
Hey, we got e-scooters.
That's true. Those are great.
I'm sure we'll get there eventually. Hey, you know what we're also getting to, Heather?
What?
Wanted to talk about Instagram for a minute. And
wait a minute. What about my anecdote?
Oh, I thought that was it.
Anyway, really quick. I'll just go through mine really quick. I found a large eggshell in the breakfast burrito I got today. I thought you would appreciate that.
I don't appreciate it. I find it horrifying.
Talk about this actually really loops into your noise thing. Like, there's certain textures that really rub me wrong. I love eggs. I eat eggs every day. But the shells, when you crunch on them, I think it's one of my worst. I can't.
Who likes that?
It's like crunching on bones. It's awful.
Yeah, no, that I think across the board, no one wants that.
Awful. And so it was a big piece too. And so I of course I went up there and said, look, I want my money back. Like, that was a very, uncomfortable situation. And
sure.
They were, the guy came over and, the manager, and said, well, is there anything I can do to, make up for it? And I said, maybe a glass of wine. I don't know, whatever. I don't care what it is. And he brought me over a very special glass of rosé. It really was wonderful. But I'm going to I'm going to throw a however in here. I thought my day was going pretty well. After that, all's well that ends well.
Right.
It's a Shakespeare line, isn't it?
I don't know, but I think we all know that what that means.
I did a really stupid thing today. I'm very mad at myself. So last week, Sarah and I bought a bottle of wine at this kind of a random bodega that doesn't have any labels. You don't know what you're getting. You basically buy a wine and it could be anything. Well, we bought a bottle of wine. It was a Pinot Blanc and it tastes like a sour beer. And we really had a hard time drinking it. I mean, it was the whole thing. It was so hard to drink. And
I mean, listen, it's drinkable. I'm just going to complain throughout. Lucy, stop.
And so today, it's my job to get wine at the same bodega. And what do? I accidentally got the same goddamn wine. And now we're suffering through drinking this anyway. It's terrible thing. Awful. Just awful.
We can stop down.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on here. Lie down. Right now.
Do you want to put him in the cage while we do the show?
Nope.
Okay.
Lucy was just being...
She was just doing her own thing. She was like running around.
She does that. She wants attention.
Do you think it was fine that I'm like, oh wait, what about my anecdote? Do you want to take it? Do you want to pick it up?
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I thought that you already talked about it.
It's all good.
I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine. Should we pick it up or do you care that happened?
No. We can just cut it
and then go to your Instagram story.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, all right. In 3, 2. All right, let's start the show with a little news about Instagram, Heather. Mm-hmm. And I actually am tired of talking about Instagram. Not that I don't love it, but Instagram is too big.
It is. I totally agree. I miss when it was smaller.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to the point where not that I ever really wanted to hang out on Facebook, but a lot of the people that I knew were posting a lot of their kind of life updates on Facebook have moved to Instagram.
Oh, totally.
To the point where I'm like, it's a monopoly, and I always hate that.
I know, me too.
Anyway,
it used to be preserved by like photography and like a little bit more visual posts.
Yeah, I mean, you and a few other people aside, I don't like Instagram stories. I don't like being in any app too much during the day.
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
Like I feel like it's like too much. But Instagram is making some changes to some of their security features that I think would actually be relevant to a lot of our audience. The first one is that account profiles will now be updated to display the date the account joined.
Wow.
Very helpful. Also, the country where the account is located, or at least, if you're not using VPN or whatever, accounts with shared followers, right? So you're like, who is this person?
Yeah, I like that.
Some rando person, like maybe we know somebody in common, like give me some context. Sure. And then any username changes in the last year, which is also relevant because, so my mom, for example, over the last year, somebody got a hold of her old account and she couldn't get back in. And so she changed her name and I was all confused about it. And I'm like, is that you? And she's like, yeah, somebody hacked me and now I have a new name and that sort of thing. However, if you were, and this is something we talked about on Daily Tech News Show, another show that I host earlier this week, in the sense of security, but think of it in the sense of harassment, right? If I'm harassing you, and you're like, I don't, this person is, and I change my username.
Yeah.
That's easily confusing.
Totally.
Or if I start following you and you're like, well, okay, this rando person, I don't know, has 5,000 followers, could be bought, right? And, but if you were to look and be like, oh, but they started their account 3 days ago and they're based in Chechnya, right?
Nice.
The more information you have about this stuff, the better.
Actually, that rings a bell for me. I do have a couple people who have followed me for years that constantly change their username. And I'm like, who's that? And it's like something clever that's like D's nuts or whatever. I don't know. That's the top of my head. I don't know.
That's a great name.
Yeah, I know that is a really good one. That's a really good one. You should change yours to D's Nuts.
D's Nuts.
But they're always trying to like be like one up their last clever title. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then I'm like, who is this? This vaguely smells of my friend Jesse or whatever. And then I have to look back and be like, oh, dude, he changed his name again. And it's, I think that's cool. That makes me feel better.
The more you know, the better. Sure. And I know, there are a lot of folks who are like, I don't know, no one's harassing me on Instagram. And I mean, in a perfect world, none of us are, right? Mm-hmm. In a perfect world, Heather will never drink this wine again. Yeah. Yeah, lemon face. But I do. There are times where I'm sort of like, I don't know. Everything looks legit about this, but if I knew that it was not necessarily a bad actor or somebody trying to like influence me politically, but just that whole, I want to know more about, like, are you for real?
Sure.
Are you a person that knows me from the internet?
Yeah.
Or saw me on TV? Or actually knows a friend that I know? That's helpful.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, no, you're not getting in here.
What about the people that are like, you have a public account, so you get a lot of randos, and it's hard to really tell who's real.
Sure. And I mean, it's not like, it's fine if people follow me for the most part. But when you get that sort of harassment thing, or somebody being like, great post, check out mine, follow for follow. Yeah. You're like, oh God.
Yeah, totally.
I just want to weed out all that stuff.
Because I'm getting a lot of that stuff because I just turned my account to public recently because of this show, which I had it private.
Which I suggested you do.
And it makes sense. Yeah. I think it's good. So yeah.
Anyway, so Instagram is basically giving us more tools to just know a little bit more about the people who are following. You can block or unfollow or follow or become friends, all up to you, but knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. So, hey, hi, Sarah. How's it going over there?
Oh, good. Are you flirting with me?
I'm flirting with you.
What's happening?
I just like to flirt with you. No, actually, it's
you're really good at it. Oh my
God. Awkward.
I'm sorry. What are you doing?
What was me? Actually, it's the name of a new dating app I thought maybe you'd be interested in.
Okay, tell me more. Oh, hey, hi.
Oh, hey, hi, but hi, HIGH. Catch my drift?
Oh, so, oh, hey, let's get high?
It's for cannabis-friendly hookups.
I see. So this is marijuana-friendly dating.
And, like, it's a place where people can feel like they can meet people of like mind, so it isn't weird when they go later down the line. They're like, I'm a heavy stoner.
Right.
Like, I like pot. And then the person's like, well, I don't. So this is a terrible match.
Yeah, sure.
So, I mean, it kind of makes sense. But, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that this thing came out of not the woodwork. But
well, as somebody who has, before we get into, because I want to know more about this, before we get into the details of this particular dating app, I will say that as a person who has been on dating apps, many of them, in fact, sometimes for research, sometimes for pleasure, I have always been turned off by the bio that says 420 friendly.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And it's not because that I'm not.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually pretty 420, I don't.
It's kind of hokey.
It just makes me feel like if that's one of the things that I have to know about you right away.
I agree.
But if that's something that I do want to know about you right away, this sounds like a really good app.
It's kind of nice.
Because you are weeding out the people who are going to be like, oh, wait, sorry, we've
like,
been
I'm
on 3 dates
that.
And now you finally like told me about the weed thing and like I'm all weird about that.
Totally.
There's something to be said about being like, this is a niche thing. If we have it in common, this is kind of important to me, and I want to meet the person who's going to be okay with this.
Especially in this day and age. I mean, like this is no surprise that this thing came up, and it's apparently it's free. I mean, they have like a higher end, sort of you can get everything. They call it the Kush mode for $29.99 a year. I'm not exactly sure what you get with that.
What do you probably get like greater access to like more folks.
Yeah.
All the apps seem to do that. Be like, for $30 a year, you just have like more access to people who might like you.
Yeah, and maybe you can. Oh, I think you could probably add more images. Like maybe you have like you can make a more robust profile, that kind of thing. But would you ever try it?
I would.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, I think in Gen Pop, let's just call it that, since I love prison references. anybody who you'll get it if you get it, but I don't like the whole sort of like weed friendly smoking, but I think that if that's part of your deal,
yeah, man,
and you're loud and proud about it, and you really want to just be like, I don't want to deal with somebody who's going to be judgmental, or this is also, we live in Los Angeles, so this whole thing is legal. If you're 21 and up, like, you are good to go.
You walk down the street and you smell it. I mean, that's been going on for a long time.
Right. But the stigma of like doing it is, you can't do it on the street legally.
Yeah.
But you can legally. So I think that's cool.
I wanted to spend a little more time in the app to actually look at people's profiles. Because, you can imagine how creative people have probably gotten. So I'll have to report back on that. But
please do.
Ran out of time. You know how it goes. Is our fancy, hosting lifestyles. We're very busy people.
We are fancy. I mean,
but speaking of
clearly
very fancy. Speaking of marijuana, Snoop Dogg. You know that guy, right?
I've heard of him. Yes.
Yeah. So he
used to be Snoop Doggy Dog.
Oh, I like. Yeah.
But he grew up.
He did.
He grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's on to, he's trying to accomplish things before, being an adult. And
he's older than us.
He is. Oh, totally.
So he's an adult.
Well, it actually makes sense. How many celebrities make a cookbook like when their other career is not necessarily faltering, but like it's just a thing that people accomplish when they get older. They write a book. So he wrote a cookbook.
Oh, he did?
For stoners.
Oh.
But the weird thing is none of the recipes have marijuana in them.
It's just about munchy
more
stuff.
Munchies.
When
and
you're
like
stoned, this is the stuff you want to eat.
And I wonder if it's, maybe it's a legal thing. I don't know if there are any marijuana cookbooks that actually have. There's got to be. I don't understand why he wouldn't have that.
I think if you're legally allowed to have a certain amount,
totally.
No intent to sell, right?
He could at least have brownies in there.
You can bake that however you want. What does it matter?
You can bake that however you want. Mm-hmm. I think that's what you meant.
That's what I said.
Oh, you did say baked.
Yeah.
Well, the name of his book is From Crook to Cook. From Crook to Cook.
Wait,
platinum recipes from the Boss Dog's Chicken Kitchen.
Oh, okay. Is this like a Martha Stewart thing?
No,
because they're they're BFF now, and she's Crook to Cook, or Cook to Crook, I guess, and then back to Cook.
She is Cook to Crook. No, he's Crook to Cook. That makes sense. That's actually kind of funny. But no, I think he I think it greased the wheels for him.
Okay.
But it's out on October 23rd if anyone's interested. I want to do a little shout out to my friend Alice Dubin, who writes for Bravo.
Hey.
She's the one that wrote the article, and she pointed it out to me. So what up, Dubin? But a couple of his munchie suggestions are Flamin' Hot Cheetos Starbursts. He has his own recipe for gin and juice.
Hold on. Flaming Hot Cheeto Starburst, one thing?
No, it's separate.
Oh, okay.
He's like saying, here are the best munchies. Flamin' Hot Cheetos,
Starburst is like an ingredient in his cookbook? Because that's not something that he made.
I think he's basically saying, here's a list of munchies that I love. So everything is from his personal collection. So he's like, when he gets stoned, he buys Starburst and he buys Flamin' Hot Cheetos. There's no recipes for them. How do you make Starburst at home?
I don't think you do. I wouldn't know the first thing about that.
But he does have an original recipe for gin and juice and like lobster thermidor, like mac and cheese. There's a bunch of,
Original gin and juice recipe again. Well, two ingredients.
Gin and juice. I don't know. Maybe he has put some cilantro on the top or something.
Yeah, a little salt. Goes crazy. Very
Anyway, good for you, Snoop.
Good for you, Snoop.
Moving on up.
Longevity. Gotta hand it to Snoop.
I like Snoop actually. By the way, did you listen to the Snoop interview on Howard?
No.
It's one of the best interviews ever, and it'll make you appreciate Howard because it is.
Heather's talking about Howard Stern, one of her favorite.
The only Howard there is. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure if there's anyone named Howard out there, I don't mean that, but I think he's a great interviewer, and his interview with Snoop is especially special.
Well.
So.
That,
all right.
Good stuff. So, Heather, I saw a trailer for a new HBO documentary titled Swiped. What do you think it's about?
So excited.
I mean, if I gave you one guess.
Oh, dating apps.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. Which plays into what we were talking about just a few minutes ago. This was something I saw on Bustle. Bustle claims that they have the exclusive trailer. I don't know if that's true or not. It doesn't really matter. But... as Heather and I talk about all the time, we love HBO's stuff.
Their take on it has got to be good stuff. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's again, this is a 1 plus minute trailer, so you don't get a total sense of what the documentary is about, but it does touch on a few things that I know a lot of people are struggling with. And that also plays into the Instagram conversation. The whole idea of like, okay, well, dating apps are the norm now. It's not weird to be on a dating app anymore. Back in the day, it was like, oh, are you that desperate?
There was some stigma.
Yeah.
For sure. You met someone on a dating app, there was stigma.
Like there must be something wrong with you socially, and that's why you're doing it.
That's not a good story.
I remember for years, I was like, no, I've never done that.
Yeah.
But I think that's over.
I think mostly.
I do.
Yeah.
And you have lots of options, and that's all great. However, the first impression that anyone will have of you is what you look like.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Which is not unlike the first impression that someone would have
meeting in person.
Exactly. Coffee shop, going to Blue Bottle.
Totes.
It's what you look like, how you presented.
Trader Joe's produce aisle.
All that stuff.
If that's what happens for you.
But there's right. Exactly. Hey, there is no produce aisle at Trader Joe's, or I'd go there more often. But that's a little bit more of like okay.
Yeah.
The sort of like, let me give you the best angle and the best filters and all of that stuff, which I'm super guilty of, obviously. Is something that I think this documentary is trying to pinpoint.
I love it. Is it a feature length or is it a series? It's just a documentary.
Just a one-off.
I'm so into it. When does it come out?
September 30th, I believe.
God, there's so much good stuff coming out in September.
Might be September 20th.
Right.
I will get back to y'all on that. But yeah, so it's asking a lot of, and it looks like a lot of, sort of younger folks about, what are the challenges of dating in this modern world, which is all, that sounds like, but when you really get down to it, it's like, this is the same stuff that plagues people on social networks.
Absolutely.
Like, makes me feel more lonely. Makes me feel like I have there's so much pressure to look like so good in that first photo.
There's so much rejection.
To grab the person.
That maybe you wouldn't get in real life because you're cycling through so many people. Oh, totally. Yeah. And that sort of like dopamine thing, which is so real, where you're like, oh, I haven't gotten a response from anybody. Like you get like kind of excited when you get a ping. But I'm surprised it took a network this long to create this because, it's been around for a while. But I'm super excited about this. Man, I'm going to be like, close the doors and watch all the new shows in September.
And same. Hey, you know what I'm really excited about, Heather?
What, Sarah?
New
Tell me.
Patreon perks. Yeah. Okay, so let's break this down because we want to make sure that this is very
clear.
Very clear for everybody. So when Heather and I launched Have Such a Good Day, we're on episode 8 now, so 8 short weeks ago, but we'd been working on it for a little bit, before then. So let's call it a solid several months. Mm-hmm. We mapped out what we thought our best Patreon perks would be. And that means for anybody who's like, what's that? Patreon is a way for the community to help us fund our show so that we don't have advertising, because we've decided, at least as much as, as far as we can, we would like to avoid that.
And they help you do what you love to do. That's what Patreon does. It's a platform that allows you to do what you love and what you may be good at. Like an artist, they have a lot of musicians, a lot of artists.
Yes.
A lot of content creators.
And we love the Patreon folks. We love the community. It's been great for us. That said, we have definitely learned a little bit along the way of, okay, well, maybe there are certain things that we thought were great ideas that we need to rethink or fudge or just kind of, massage a little bit. Mm-hmm. And one of those things is our video podcast. Mm-hmm. Anybody who's watching this video knows that, it's pretty bare bones. Like
Very.
You can see us. Got a dog in the background, some cats running around here and there, but
we have a couple production lights. I mean, it's not, it could be worse, but we are shooting on my iPhone. So
yeah, exactly. It's,
a little
we're
funky.
at my house. We, Heather and I switch off. It's at Heather's house one week and mine, but we do want to offer that. Anybody who wants to watch us, great. We're happy to have that. Mm-hmm. Well, we originally thought, well, maybe that's a great Patreon perk. We've since learned that we're sort of robbing ourselves of perhaps a lot
more of a bigger community.
Yeah, and promotion and the ability to share. Yeah. Right? Like if you like this and you want to share with your friend and they're not a patron on Patreon. Anyway, long story short, what we've done is we have reimagined a couple of our tiers. So we'll start with the $1 tier, which now, because video is free, we're not going to leave you guys hanging. What we're going to do is add a brand new weekly newsletter every week. We're gonna switch off. What are we gonna talk about?
I don't know. I don't even know. I'm gonna write mine tomorrow.
Nobody knows. And then, of course, you have access to our Patreon Lens content. Now, if you're not familiar with that, but you are familiar with Instagram, kind of similar
to the stories,
but it's exclusive. Mm-hmm. It's sort of as if we had a private Instagram account that only a few people had access to.
Exactly.
No nudity. Not yet anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But
it's almost like even like a little private webcam. So like there's not a lot of bells and whistles. It's pretty simple, but like maybe I'll shoot a little quick video like today I did on the beach. Just kind of, on my way to Sarah's house to shoot. There's all kinds of things that I've been posting on there. And there'll be more because, this is now a bigger perk. Right. So we will be doing it more regularly. It's behind the scenes stuff.
It is, yes. So again, $1 a month. Think about the show. We'd love to do 2 shows a week, but that's a goal. Yeah. If we get enough patron money, then we will do that. But for now, that's $0.25 per show. Mm-hmm. 1 quarter, 25 cents per show, to give you a weekly newsletter, BTS content, behind the scenes. That's what BTS is. And we hope that the rest of you are loving our video and share it with the world. Yeah. And let's just we're figuring this out together. However, that's not the only tier that we've made changes to. Our $5 tier is now going to include you helping us choose our bonus topic every week.
You guys literally get to choose this. So what we will do is we'll cull a bunch of interesting ideas, things that we want to talk about, and we will create a poll. You guys respond to that poll, and I pick the winning, subject, and we talk about it each week. So this is completely generated by you guys, and we want your ideas for topics too. We've been coming up with the topics. We want people to send us emails at hi@havesuchagooday.com. Let us know topics you want us to talk about. We want to hear from you because right now we are coming up with the topics. But what we would prefer is if you guys would write in on what you want to hear us talk about. So please let us know. And, don't forget that weekly we have shows going up at havesuchagooday.com and on iTunes and on Stitcher, Overcast, Pocket Casts. What else? Every single podcast app I think out there.
Google Play Music.
Google Play Music.
For all you Android folks.
Yeah. Yeah. So
and
that's that.
And then real quick for the $10 patrons, we are all in on Discord, but we also realize that a lot of you are like,
What's
okay,
Discord?
$10 a month is like very generous, by the way. Thank you so much. My goodness. But we understand that not everyone's either wanting to chat or like understands that Discord is this app that you have to download, and that's cool. We love you in there, and the folks that we've become friends with.
Yeah, it's been really fun actually. I think you guys are missing out. I don't think you know what you're missing out on.
Yeah, but I get the sense that we may not be adequately explaining how fun it is, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Please download Discord, install it, get to know us.
Think about a really exciting text thread that you're having with a good friend, you know, and you're going back and forth, and you're like,
or IRC chat.
Yeah, you're like laughing, or like a Google chat or something. It's kind of like that, but you've got multiple people in the room. It's super fun. Let us know if you are having trouble wrapping your head around it, or you don't even know where to download Discord. You don't know how to spell it. Like it's completely rocket science to you. Please let us know. We'll help you out.
Absolutely. But for those $10 patrons, because it's truly, I mean, any patron level is amazing and humbling, and we love you. For the $10 patrons, we want to do something extra, and that will include adding your name to the credit roll of the video that you're probably watching because you're a $10 patron, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to. I mean, we give you the audio only.
But you should.
Name
and lights.
Yeah. So the credit rolls, we will add you to the credit roll. We don't care how long that credit roll is, because we want as many of y'all as we can.
But, we'll put it in alphabetical order so you can quickly find your name.
Correct.
You can, stop, pause, fast forward, that kind of thing.
When in doubt, go alphabetical.
Yes.
That's what I always say, Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's go alphabetical.
It's funny. I mean, Heather and I have worked in production for so long that it's like these things come up all the time. But I'm sure a lot of people are like, I mean, how often would that come up? Think of like when there's 3 co-directors on a movie.
Oh, yeah.
And like, it's like, well, who did more work? Or like, who's like
who
the
paid
cooler?
more?
And I'm always like, just go alphabetical.
Yeah, no, you have to.
Because that's the only way to like,
people get upset.
Keep it even.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then because then people are going to wonder about the hierarchy, and it's like, what did
well, sure, yeah,
who put X amount of dollars in, who's like the bigger star, that kind of thing.
Well, and I always think about that when you see, and we're going to talk about this a little later in the show, particularly movie and show credits, but when a new show starts, and like all the marquee stars, and they're not alphabetical, I'm always like, okay, so whose agent is the best?
I'm fascinated by that too.
And don't you love the one where it's like, starring Heather Frank, Sarah Lane,
starring
with.
I know. I knew you were going to say that.
And
I know. I think that I think stars ask for that special. There is something special about that. I think
top billing is your first.
Yes.
But the second best one is and you're last,
or like and guest starring or the and. I know it's always like, but it's always like a really good gem of an actor, so it is a special spot for sure.
And it's weird, like look at Saturday Night Live, because they're always, people are, it's a revolving door as far as featuring so and so, which means you're not really a cast member yet. They're just trying you out.
Yeah, totally.
Because otherwise you wouldn't be featured. You would just be there.
See, we know things. It's really hard to actually watch things being a producer, because all I do is deconstruct it. I'm like, oh my God, wait, how did they do that shot? Did they use was it a some kind of dolly?
Sure,
how did they do it?
Steadicam? What's up?
Anyway,
I actually had a conversation with somebody the other night, someone that I met who was like, I just want you to know, I don't like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but I think whoever's editing that show this season is really talented. And I was
God.
And I was like, I agree.
That's so funny.
It's well edited.
Wow.
I don't care about the content.
Sure.
It's well edited.
I'm sure I would respect
these
that.
These are the things that, as a
you.
producer, you can't not see.
I have to just I have to ask you, are you watching The Sinner?
Mm-mm.
I think you should try to watch that.
The Sinner?
The Sinner.
Like
and
a person who sins?
Yeah. It's
okay.
so you obviously haven't seen the season 1 because it's on season 2.
I've never even heard of it.
Do you like a good thriller? Kind of like Sharp Objects?
Yes.
You should check it out because it's so the first season stars Jessica Biel. I know. Just try it for me.
Okay.
Try it for me. And it's on Plex.
Okay.
So
okay. Good. Okay.
all right, so I'm going to start.
We'll do. No judgment.
Alphabetical order. I'm starting with A.
Oh, good.
So I actually apocalypse. I think about the apocalypse a lot.
Do you?
I do. Yeah. Because
do you think about like how you survive it?
Well, yeah.
Like,
I mean, like, do you have an emergency backpack, Sarah? Do you, like what if the lights go out? Do you have a flashlight that you know where it is, or candles that you know like which drawer they're in?
No.
They're all organized.
I think I've mentioned on the show before, the ocean is literally on the other side of this wall. And so I'm terrified of tsunamis.
There's signs all over Venice saying it's
tsunami.
a tsunami.
I'm in a tsunami evacuation zone. Like, I didn't make this up.
No.
This is something that I
It's a
need
thing.
to worry about. So I know what my evacuation is. And that is, I grab the cats, I guess the dog now. I don't even, everything's complicated these days. But like, grab the cats and run to the roof. Because you don't have time to drive anywhere.
No,
There's
you
a
don't.
tsunami.
No.
Like, come on.
No.
So yeah, I do think about apocalyptic things that I think might actually apply to me.
I do too, especially with all the fires, that have been going on and the climate change and like it's getting hotter and hotter. Like I'm having this whole thing with my AC because we don't live in a super hot area of LA, but it's gotten the last 4 years have been super hot.
You live central.
I live central.
Central to, if anyone doesn't know the LA area, it's huge.
Yeah.
So Heather lives in not the farther east you go in California, the hotter it is.
Yeah.
You don't live that far east.
No.
But so what's going on with your
West
AC?
Hollywood.
What happened?
Well, it's a long story, but in a nutshell, I have like maybe a rather larger apartment. It has 2 floors, and all they have are a couple wall units. So when you try to cool down the apartment, it takes forever. It's so inefficient. Like you don't really, like the kitchen is 95 degrees. There's no way you're going to get ventilation because there's no units in there. They don't want to spend the money to do central AC. That's essentially what's going on.
And you're a great apartment, and some of you have seen at least one of the rooms or a couple of the rooms who watch the video version of this podcast. But I will say, and I've been there sometimes, like to feed your cats when you're out of town, like at high noon,
it's hot.
You have to sit right next to that AC unit.
Oh, it's true.
Or you don't feel
it's brutal.
it.
And
it's kind of wasted energy.
I know, exactly. And it's such expensive bills too. And my landlord's very old. She's 95 and she's so old school. And back then it wasn't that hot. Now it's really hot. I mean, the last 4 years are the hottest years on record. So it's a whole thing. But I think about this stuff a lot where I'm like, okay, not in an OCD way, but I'm kind of like, I'll decide some days where I'll want to go for an actual run outside. And I know that I'm not right on the beach. So I'm like, well, what is the air quality over here right now? Because obviously if there's a fire nearby, I'm not going to run outside because it's bad air.
Sure.
But
bad for your lungs.
I would say most of the time LA is at a moderate level. So I had a friend, I was out last week with a good friend of mine who I met one of his colleagues and he was telling me about this app. And this is not an app review, but I just think it's cool. It's called the Air Bubbles. It's called Air Bubbles. It's an iPhone app and it's created by a company called Wind, W-Y-N-D. And it has little bubbles. So it's the whole world map, like in the app, and you can move around and it's little bubbles. Did you ever remember this really cool site? It was called like musicplasma.com and they had a bunch of them. And so you go on the website. This is like early internet. And they had these big bubbles. So like if you said you liked Radiohead, the Radiohead
it was
would be like
pre-Pandora.
Yes.
Where it was like visually
totally pre-Pandora.
You could discover new artists that were somehow linked to some.
And then like the bubbles would be like a size. Like so Radiohead had a pretty big bubble because they're a big band. But then maybe Interpol was a little smaller, but it was like kind of related.
Their new album is so boring.
I know.
By
Yeah,
the way.
it is. I know. I
But
mean, I like
anyway.
some tracks, but I know it's funny. I was going to talk about that on the show, but but yeah, I this app is cool because air pollution is a huge killer of humans and probably animals. I mean,
and even if it isn't a killer, like
it's a silent killer.
It degrades your quality of life.
Yeah. Totally.
All of ours.
Yeah, I mean, I want fresh air. I gotta say, ever since I've moved to LA, I miss, because we're from the Bay Area, from San Francisco, it has notoriously good air, because in fact, a lot of the places surrounding it on the
these
east,
days because of all the fires.
You're right, not these days.
However, yes.
But in general, because
LA is known for having smog.
Yeah, and where San Francisco is located geographically, you are so close to the water that like the wind comes in from the coast and pushes all of the San Francisco smog into like the East Bay. It's not great either, but I love this app is so cool. You can kind of look and there's little bubbles that will say like maybe like 53. I think like a mid-range is like, that's like a moderate air pollution. But it's all measured. It's air quality index, type of thing. It's not hard to understand, but what they're measuring is tiny and large particles, ozone, nitrogen, sulfur dioxide, and carbon monoxide, obviously. But what I thought was cool is the way it works. There's these air quality monitoring stations all around the world. There's tons of them. And they're aggregated.
Who runs them?
I don't know, but this company that made this app aggregates all of the data via like service providers, and they use about 5,000 of these data centers, and it's one of the largest air quality data gathering like apps out there. So it's probably one of the best things that you could use. Anyway, it's kind of cool. Right now, you can see in Canada, it's like really severe. It's like red bubble over like British Columbia, it's like 154 or something, which is severe. And it says severe, wear a face mask. Well, it doesn't say that, but that's what I say.
Okay, so Air Bubbles is the name of the app.
Yep.
It's free.
It's free. Yep.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Well, and
why
again,
wouldn't you want to know more about the air quality in your life?
And as we go further into being populated, and it's probably going to get worse, so you might as well keep track of the good days of, going for a hike outside.
Well, what's funny is I know that this has a lot to do with the fact that I'm just getting older, but I've always had really good eyes.
Yeah.
We were talking about contacts and glasses before the show, and I've never really had to wear either. I know that my vision is not perfect, but it's always been fine enough that I didn't really have to wear glasses. Yeah. And I've had to wear them more lately.
Like readers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to read, because I'm, and, everybody says the optometrist is like, well, you're farsighted. So that's just, that's what happens. Mm-hmm. But I also find that on days when I find the air quality less than ideal, my eyes are worse.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And of course, because, it's the air is in my eyes. Yeah. My eyes are just like, I hate it.
Oh, mine are always irritated.
It's like eating bad food.
Yeah.
You don't feel good.
I wake up with itchy eyes. Like it's a thing. And I never used to have that in San Francisco. And I don't know, man. I'm like, I want to live somewhere that's a little bit healthier air. That's all I'm saying.
Well, if anyone knows where Heather should move, please let us know at Hyatt.
Well, I know one of our patrons wants me to move to Pittsburgh.
What? Only Pittsburgh?
He's saying that apparently Pittsburgh.
It snows there.
But apparently it is like ranked like the second highest place to live in the United States. Quality of life next to Hawaii.
I have heard really nice things about Pittsburgh.
Maybe it's gotten better.
I'm not gonna lie.
I always thought like it's the pits. I don't know.
No. Well, I mean, it's a steel town, right?
Yeah.
Or formerly. Mm-hmm. I know a couple people from Pittsburgh. I have heard really nice things about it. However, people who say that don't know that Heather and I are like, we're softies.
We are.
We're California people.
I know.
Pittsburgh is like, you gotta,
it's a little inland.
You gotta, root for the Steelers and get snowshoes.
Yeah,
that's hard.
Although snowshoes are pretty cool, but
sure. But in a city, it's not as fun as you think it's gonna be.
No.
Well, I was gonna, go on and complain about my, my current menagerie of animals, but I don't even think I'm going to. I'm currently fostering a dog. He is both, he's sort of in the background. I don't know if you can see him or not.
He's having a nap.
He's both the cutest, most wonderful little man ever, and also ruining my life at the same time. So we're just going to go ahead and maybe
more to come on that.
Curb that one for a week. But I do want to talk about, and I know that spoilers are not cool and we will not spoil anything here, but I wanted to talk about the Sharp Objects finale.
Oh, man.
Now, Sharp Objects, we were talking about HBO earlier. Sharp Objects is one of those
miniseries.
Yeah. 8 episodes. It's done. As far as I know, they're not going to do a season 2 of any kind based on a book. So, it's sort of wrapped up at this point. And the show has enough twists and turns that it would be very difficult to talk about the finale in any significant way without spoiling it.
Sure.
Not going to do that. However, what I will say, and I don't think that anyone will get mad at me for doing this, is after the show is over, and it's one of those shows where you have a lot of questions. Like, wow, who's
your
that?
Mouth is kind of open.
Why did he do that? Is she? Are they? Yeah, it's a whodunit.
Yep.
At the end of the show, the credits roll, and I love how, a lot of the times, sort of like a sad or morose or, sort of down-tempo show will, end with like a, like rock song, with the credits, to,
Dramatic.
sort of jar you out of whatever you were in. Well, this particular show had like a little bit of like content post credit, or actually during the credit, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. It would it rolled the credits for a minute, and then
you saw some stuff,
and then all of a sudden you come back into like the narrative, and like this plot twist is revealed like already when the show ended,
right
mid roll.
Well, and what's funny about it is like it's very important.
It's
stuff.
super important. I bet there's some people that don't see it.
I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people turn it off right away.
It's the sort of thing where it's like, oh, it answers a lot of questions I had.
Absolutely.
For 8 episodes, which are 1 hour each. I mean, I spent a lot of time on the show. But it was funny. So I'm on a Slack group with a bunch of friends who like to talk about TV shows. And one of my friends was like, what about the post credits though? I'm like, well, Sarah, why are you asking all these questions?
Oh, so they
and I was like, oh,
you had to go back and watch it.
I had to go back and watch it because the first time that it ended, I was like, okay, that's the end of the the series is over.
Yeah.
I know there won't be an episode 9.
Yeah.
And I probably I either turned it off or put something else on, or maybe made myself some dinner. I don't even know what I did. And then I watched it again last night. I actually watched the last 10 minutes again, just to kind of and I was like, oh crap.
I know, it's crazy.
So I was trying to think of okay, that was very effective, but very ineffective if you're someone like me who just didn't know to watch it.
I think it's cool that they did that.
And walked away with all these questions that were kind of clearly answered when you saw this very short montage.
So impactful though, the way it was like a kind of a couple frames, even some of them were quick and I mean, and you got to see it. We don't want to get into it.
Yeah.
But it's a thing. It's a film style. In fact, there's been a lot of this in comedy. I think that most of it has been in comedy, not as much in drama. But a couple of my favorite comedies from back in the day have it. You probably remember, if you've seen Airplane, where the guy is in the red zone and he's sitting in the taxi waiting for the taxi to get back, and he's still sitting there, in the credits, and he's like, hey, and then Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a classic. Yeah, and then after that, but they go into the house and Ferris is like, get out of here. Yeah. It's over. Go home. And he's in his robe, Right. So clever. I'm so surprised that more people don't do that. So I'm into it.
Well, it was funny when I finally was like, oh, Sharp Objects said, there was more to it after the credits. I asked Heather, can you think of any series or movie? And I'm not talking about superhero stuff, because I know that's sort of part of the deal where you're like, oh, you're going to find out what character is going to be in the next movie. Put that aside, because I know that that's already sort of a genre of its own. But what other movie / series or / TV show, whatever, does that effectively. And Ferris Bueller was something that I would not have thought of, and that was a really good example.
Yes.
Nailed it. But
Airplane, and then, but what about a series? So I was actually thinking, did 30 Rock do that? Or like there was one comedy that, God, I feel like there was something that rolled in and it just kind of kept the narrative going a little bit. Shoot. The Office, no. Some popular comedy I feel like did it.
please email us
let us know.
hi@havesuchagagoodday.com if you have, like, if you're listening right now and being like, oh my god, you guys are missing like one of the best ones,
Or get on
please
Discord and let us know.
That true. That true.
That true.
True that.
D's nuts. It's all coming full circle.
True story. So yeah. Anyway, Sharp Objects. Please watch it.
So
Talk
good.
to
Amy
us
Adams
about
is.
it.
You know, it's funny. The thing I love about that show more than anything. I mean, it's really well written, really well directed, really well shot, really well acted. But my favorite part, I love watching Amy Adams just like drive around in her car, which is a huge part of it. Is just sort of like her going through her day. And there's something so compelling about her as an actress. She's so she's got a lot going on behind the face, and I just like to watch her just do daily activities.
I'm a big fan of hers as well. She has a huge range.
She really does.
And this, I would say that this particular character is a stretch.
Yeah.
But she does it.
She does a great job.
She does. Yeah.
And we won't give anything
We
away.
won't,
But
but
we want
just
to.
watch
I just
it.
want to so bad.
Just watch it.
Sometimes
Watch it
I
and
almost
talk to
want
us.
people to spoil things for me. I'm not going to, but sometimes I'm like, some people are so aggressive about spoilers. They're like, I don't want to hear anything. There's times when I'm like, you know what? I don't really care about hearing about the plot in advance, because for me, I just want to know what the motivation and inspiration was behind this whole thing. Like, the plot, I don't know, is less important to me than like the behind the scenes, like what was the inspiration for the filmmaker. Anyway, that being said, isn't it about time? Not wearing a watch, but I think we've been running long here.
I must have forgotten my smartwatch, Heather. we are running long. However, $5 patrons and patrons who are contributing more, stick around. Our bonus topic is coming up next. For the rest of y'all, we love you so much.
We really do.
Hope you have such a good day. I'm Sarah.
I'm Heather.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
I'm kicking us off real mellow, as you would say, Sarah.
I would never say that.
You wouldn't? I think you did once.
Mellow.
We're kicking us off real mellow. I think you did say that once.
Maybe I did.
I liked it. I thought it was funny.
All right. Well,
that was
whatever.
funny.
I'm gonna
Anyway,
have more of my sour wine.
oh God, give me more. I hate it, but I want more. Welcome, $5 and $10 patrons.
That's what codependency is in a relationship.
It's so
I
true.
hate you, but I want more.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, I wish there was a $250 patron, but there isn't. But one of these days, we'll have that and a $1,000 patron, and they will get all of this. But today,
We will have sex with you.
yeah.
Just kidding. We won't. Don't tell anyone I said that. I'm kidding.
For $1 million. No.
Well, yeah.
Maybe
actually,
$1 million.
Actually, yeah.
Maybe hundreds of thousands. I mean,
The answer is, hey, if we're $500,000,
might consider it.
Let's
might
talk.
Consider it. I smell a new tear, or possibly a goal. So today, I posted a poll. These were all ideas that we came up with. But again, I would love for you guys to write us in what you want us to talk about each week. Email us at hi@havesuchagoodday.com or talk to us on our community board at patreon.com/havesuchagoodday. But what won, not by a landslide, but it definitely was the winner, was life better when technology was simpler? So that's what we're talking about today.
Oh man, I have so many thoughts on this because I, for anybody who sort of knows what I do for a day job, I talk about technology. I'm a tech reporter. So the advances in technology gives me material and is actually sort of lucrative to my, the advancement of my career, and has been for a long time. So it's hard for me to say like, I hate tech, because I live and breathe it, because I like it, but I also do it for work.
Yeah.
However, there are so many examples of a simpler time. And Heather and I think, okay, so when I was a little kid, I remember my parents saying, before you were born, when we were little kids, there wasn't television. My parents were born in 1945. Yeah. They were born in the same year. There was not television. Mm-hmm. They remember as little kids listening to radio, and then there was television, and then there was rock music, and the whole thing. But they remember a time where there wasn't this thing where I'm like, I can't imagine there not being this thing that's like a huge part of my life. And we are part of a generation that remembers time before the internet.
Yeah.
I didn't have internet until I went to college.
Like real telephones. I had like a Snoopy phone. In fact, I still have it. If anyone wants it, I'll sell it to you.
Oh, well.
I have like a Snoopy phone where
what
like
are you selling it for?
His hand is his paw, and it's like a yellow. It's like the classic.
Yeah, right. There was a banana phone. I remember.
I mean, how much should I?
There was a high heel phone. One of my neighbors had.
Or the lips. In fact, real quick, my dad took us to the store and he's like, pick out any phone you want. And at this particular furniture store, there was like 10 different kinds of fun kid phones. And I got the Snoopy phone, which was, I think, a smart decision. It was like a Mickey phone and then a Snoopy phone. My sister buys, the old-fashioned phones where you're like, hello.
Right. Yeah,
it's like
and then you gotta talk into that.
Yeah. Boy, did she regret that. She's like, why did I do this to myself? I mean, it's such a pain in the ass.
You're like, I have a Snoopy phone.
That was way more old school. Maybe I should hook that up. Yeah.
That is... But okay, so I mean, but this all sort of plays into the same thing. So okay, so if we're talking like pre-internet, I remember when answering machines became a thing. There didn't used to be any. If the phone rang and you weren't home, then they just called back later, or tried to find you on the street or whatever. And then there were answering machines where like, oh my gosh, what's our like message going to be? Mm-hmm. Very important. And I was always like, I want to do it. And my parents were like, okay, well, but like, don't be funny. Mm-hmm. Like, this is like for like, your parents' friends too. And then it became a thing where like the answering machine was full of like my friends. And as I got older, like, it was stuff that like, boys and just weird, whatever.
It got
like,
messy.
It got messy.
It did.
Like to the point where my parents were like, we don't like this.
Or like you call and then the machine is sort of like going haywire and it's like beep, beep, beep. And it's like, blah, 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 like the tape is getting all like,
I don't remember that. What kind of answering machine did you have? But I do remember, like, it's so funny. It's like, there's so much sort of privacy that we all take for granted now.
It's
that
so
just
true.
was not part of life before.
I know.
When someone called, it was like, if and this is so funny. I'm sorry, Mom, because I know you're gonna listen to this, but like one of the things that upset her the most was my friends would be like, Sarah there? And she'd be like, well, who's this?
Yeah, like, can't you say hi?
Because she's old school.
Sure.
And in her mind, what you say is, hi, this is Heather. Sure. Is Sarah there?
Yeah.
And if they didn't do that, they were immediately like, well, we don't even want to talk to you anyway. And sometimes, there would be a thing where, there would be a boy who seemed rude and they were like, Sarah's not even going to hear from you. Oh, yeah. And I was none the wiser because how else are they going to get a hold of me? There was no email. There was no nothing.
No, nothing. Even like, and you get so judged by, even my parents now when I have my phone and I really respect their time when I'm at their house and I try not to be on my phone a lot, but it's like, it is a part of our lives and I have to it's my work. I have to check my email from time to time. And they still are like, I think it's hard for them to wrap their head around it. And I think that is one of the sort of negative things is I think older people, they have a hard time understanding and wrapping their heads around technology. So they kind of get more out of touch. I think that's sort of a negative part of of technology these days, I think that there's pros and cons to everything. Life is more convenient and more comfortable with technology in a lot of ways. I think that in some ways there's better communication, but on the flip side, I think communication has gone by the wayside because I think people take more liberties to like ignore people and be sort of like rude via email because it's like, oh, I don't have time, I'm so busy. I think learning is great. You can learn online now.
Yeah.
You can get any info that you want to find on the internet. I mean, you really can. You can Google anything. But
yeah, I always say to people, it's like, okay, there's a whole sort of debate going on, net neutrality, whatever. We don't have to get totally into that, but is, broadband internet a human right? The way that electricity is.
Sure.
I would say yes,
Definitely.
Because it's your library.
It is.
Totally. Even if you don't want to talk to anybody, it's like,
I agree.
It is a base of knowledge that you just can't get anywhere else.
Totally
There
agree.
is no physical library that's going to.
No.
This is the world.
It is. It's the world at your fingertips.
This is the reality. However, I also think that, and it again depends on the kind of person you are. I like to think of myself as a really good detective.
Yeah.
I am the true detective of the internet. But that works against me because there are so many tools to sort of like find out stuff about people, and it's super messy. Like anybody who's been in a bad relationship knows what I'm talking about. The kind of stalking stuff and the, you're too much. Like, I'm trying to live my life. Like, I think that so many people struggle with either going too hard into other people's private lives, or feeling like your private life is not your own anymore because there are too many tools for other people to be like, well, but what about this?
Totally.
Oh, but you were at this restaurant on Thursday.
Yeah.
You checked in. I know you did.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is like,
I know that is.
It's complicated.
It's very complicated. I think with anything, there's like a yin and yang to anything. There's a pro and con. And I think that we could deconstruct every one of these things about technology then and now, and there's going to be good aspects to it and bad. I mean, even though that's knowledge at your fingertips, you say this library that the internet is true, but it also can be a crutch because think about how many times you look up something that you know, or that maybe back then you were more confident that you knew, but that's what it's created. It's like it makes you look up spellings on stuff or like words that you sort of second guess yourself because you can look up everything all the time. That I think is a bit of a negative. But there's also, productivity is a huge one. That's very positive. Connects people around the world, families and friends. Less paper. I mean, hopefully you're not printing a lot. Hopefully you're using.
If we could just become paperless, and while we're at it, no more pens.
I like pens. I know. But then I need paper because I'm not going to write on my computer screen. I get it.
Somebody was here the other day. She had to like sign something, and she was like, "Do you have a pen?" And I was like, "Probably not."
I have something to say about that. So I actually have noticed I have had a serious downward spiral with my handwriting since the internet started. I mean, I literally feel like my hand is broken when I write because I'm like, I'll write an 8 and it doesn't look like an 8 at all. It's like I literally lose control of my, because I'm not used to writing a lot, so my hand is like it gets all like cramped or something.
It's the muscle is atrophied.
It feels atrophied when I write, and I hate writing. I get so mad at myself. I'll write a check and then I'll like screw up the 8.
Who are you writing a check to?
I know we're going to get into this whole thing. Well, my 95-year-old landlord, that's the only, she doesn't even have email.
Yeah.
It's crazy making. The other day when she wanted to talk to me, do you know what she does? She rings my goddamn doorbell that they just changed to some patriotic song. What? It doesn't even go ding dong. It's like ding 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 ding. Like, and I'm just like, who is it? And then she's like,
what Patriot song is that?
I don't know. It's some American, like it's and it's
like,
an anthem. It's like an anthem,
like God Bless America,
something like that. I'll report back.
Gracious.
But also, I'm up a flight of stairs, and so it's like, of course, I'm gonna like. I have to like close the door, go downstairs, and like talk to her in person. You would lose your mind. You would lose your mind.
No FaceTime and very much no real FaceTime ever.
No. And speaking of losing your mind, this is the interesting thing. So we depend so much on the internet to the point where, like, for me, at the end of a long work day, if I'm, I want to relax, my favorite thing to do is to like catch up on my shows or movies or whatever.
Your stories,
my stories. No, really. It's not even like zoned out TV watching. I'm like really analyzing these things. I always have everything without commercials. Like I'm very particular about that. I like my narrative to stay intact. But my internet went down for 4 hours yesterday and intermittently this morning. And I'm so amazed by how crazy it makes me. Oh yeah, seriously. Like I'm like pulling my hair out. I'm like, why? And then they don't have a reason. And it's just funny how we react to like something that's so, it's such a.
Well, that was sort of like the basic human right thing.
Exactly.
Because it's like the power goes out, like. You can't do anything. I mean, if it's sunny outside, okay, you don't have to light a candle, but like you're still like crippled.
Yeah.
These days,
you're so used to it.
I would be in the same boat as you. Like if the internet goes out, I am worthless. Yeah. I have to leave.
Yeah.
I have to leave my home. I can't.
No, totally. And like this morning, it went down twice when we were chatting actually. And I was just like, oh, where do I go? Oh my God, that coffee shop's going to be so crowded. There's going to be no seats, which is totally true. And that's the one that has internet because like the Blue Ball doesn't have internet. Sometimes I'll go over there and use my phone to just search and I'll write notes on my phone. I mean, it's retarded, but.
Well, I mean, trust me, when the internet has gone off at my house, like, yes. Thank God LTE exists, so you can get certain things done, but it's not the same.
No, and
it's not the same.
It isn't. And to conclude, truly, I really believe, and you bring something to the table and tell me it's 100% pro. I think that there's always going to be nuances with these things. There's always going to be, like, I feel like one thing that I miss is there is, people that are walking down the street and they have their head buried in their phone and they don't even look at you. They don't even acknowledge the outside world. In fact, they often will run into me because they're looking at their phone. They're very much not, they are millennials and they're not, their head is in the clouds. And that's a little sad sometimes because, what was life like on the street back then? I don't even remember. I really don't.
Well, I had a friend from
Jose?
From a long time ago. Was that?
Is his name Jose?
No, my friend Erin from childhood. But she lives a very non-technological life. She has a phone, but when she visited me, which was 2 weeks ago, she was like, "Can you install Instagram?" Like I don't know how to do that. Where I was like, give me that phone.
Oh yeah, I do that all the time with people.
iPhone 4S, let's do this. But there are different degrees of what someone. It's not even like comfort level. It's just like what your life is like.
And you adapt. I mean, we are so good at adapting.
And you don't miss what you don't have.
Yeah, it's so true.
And it's funny. I mean, of the 24 hours that we spent, she was sort of like, Instagram. Oh, my daughter's on Instagram. Okay, I should follow her. Oh, you're on Instagram. Ooh, I like this. And I saw her kind of like get all into it where I'm like, all right, best of luck. You're going to be fine.
I know I do the same thing like with my family members.
But it's one of those things where it's like, there is so much joy to be gleaned from this, but it does.
So much pain too.
There's pain and also... and again, we've touched on this, and we will touch on it in a story for another time. But like, there's weird social shit.
Oh yeah.
That
very much so
has come up because of this.
Yep.
I feel it.
Oh, I feel it a lot.
Yeah. And just, just people kind of like not being themselves.
Not being professional.
And I would love to know how many people who are young enough that they don't know life without the internet don't feel what I feel.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is detrimental. Like I see it happening. It's detrimental. It's good, but it's also bad.
Yeah.
But if you don't know the life, again, my parents without television, it's like, if you don't know how life was before, you don't really have the context to compare it to anything.
I agree. And I think one thing before we sign off here, that, of course I prefer a nice iPhone with some nice headphones and listen to Spotify and listen to MP3s or,
Apple Music,
stream.
Okay, whatever, Heather.
but I miss
Tidal. What up?
There's something about like some of those objects back then, like even some of the early iPods, but like going way back, like the Walkman, like the yellow Walkman.
Oh, I've got one.
I'm so jealous that you kept it because I remember traveling in Europe as like a 14-year-old and listening to like Def Leppard Pyromania on these trains with that thing and just rewinding it and rewinding it and rewinding it. Not that I miss tapes per se, because I think they're cumbersome and they break easily. But there's something about old technology that has a little more...
It's tangible.
Yeah, it's tangible. Yeah. And it has a little more nostalgia. Like you don't have nostalgia per se about Spotify. Maybe you will. Maybe down the road there will be something so new and fantastic that Spotify becomes nostalgic.
Yeah.
But there's a nostalgia about that time that I think is a little sad that we don't have. But I don't know, maybe going forward, once we get into like the robots taking over the world, we'll look back on some of this technology from today and be like, wow, that was nostalgic.
I would love this to be a topic for a future show. And you guys let us know. And this is something we talked about on DTNS recently, like the idea of, cassettes, CDs, digital music, owning versus streaming.
Yep.
What does it all mean to you? And I have a lot of thoughts on this.
Oh, totally.
And it goes both ways. I find that because I don't buy physical anything anymore because I don't want shit in my house. I also don't love anything as much as I used to because there's too much other stuff.
Oh yeah, totally. I think that's another thing where it's like things were a little more like precious or something back then because there was less of it. And now you go into like a Target or like a Best Buy and you go into like the DVD
and you
section.
Get everything you want.
Oh
ever.
Yeah,
Target.
but you go into like a Best Buy and you go into like the DVD aisle and it's so overwhelming. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. I have to
I don't want any of that.
Anyway, more to come. I think this is a fascinating topic, and let us know if we didn't touch on something. Maybe there's a part 2 for this bonus topic if you guys are interested. Maybe there's a whole show. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're open to, this is a media company for us. We want to do more shows. Like we want to not just do Have Such a Good Day. We would like to do some offshoots. So
this is
a jumping off point.
All right. If you're with us at this point, that means you really like us. So we want to actually tell you what the ultimate goal is.
Yeah.
This is the first show of so many shows.
We have so many ideas.
We're producers, right? Like we're not going to host like 100
shows.
No,
like we make things.
But we would like to have a production company featuring possibly some of you.
Yeah, absolutely. We would love that.
Yeah.
So we need to push forward. We need to move faster. And so we want to hear from you. And thank you for listening. This is a longer bonus topic, but man, I have a million things to say.
Same.
So
I know.
We'll have to do
like the music
part
thing
2.
is like a whole other thing because I'm like, now I'm fired up, but okay. For brevity's sake.
Yes.
We'll just go ahead and wrap up. Thanks
so much.
all of you $5 patrons and more for hanging out with us through our bonus topic. And we want to hear your thoughts. Hi at havesuchagooday.com. Until then,
We'll see you next week.
we will.
Have a great weekend.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye.